All right, you little bastard, work. Come on. How about now, rudder? There we go. Okay, it's working now. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, yeah, sorry. So we obviously opened up higher in the morning session, only to give it back up straight away, pretty much, and move out to the right from there. So nothing really huge that was kind of leading the markets on the day, and I think we've just been kind of trying to settle in after the real heightened volatility that we saw kind of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to finish last week. We got a hell of a lot that's probably going to come toward the end of this week. We've got the start of U.S. earnings season, which I think is obviously going to be setting a whole new tone and a new focus for equity markets going forward. We also kind of yesterday potentially marked the end of at least the short-term end of the dollar rally. It seems like we seem to have peaked against a lot of currency crosses, for instance, and you saw the same sort of bottoming in some of the commodity prices. It looks like looking at gold, looking at oil, looking at copper, and then you saw the same thing going into some of the commodity shares. So I think we're going to be following that whole story very, very closely. In fact, more closely than almost anything in the market at the moment, and we'll be looking for things to kind of give us a heads up for if that theme returns. All right, this morning we had Hang Seng that showed a little bit more recovery after tensions continued to ease there on the back of protesters calming things down. So we saw a nice bounce out of the Hang Seng. Kospi also up. The Nikkei was obviously the big laggard, and that's simply due to yen strength. So yen strengthened by about close to maybe 0.75%, from market close to market open, and that's obviously why we saw the underperformance there out of the Nikkei. Australia also down, even though we got a real run out of some of the mining stocks. We got Rio running hard. We've got talks of a potential Rio Glencore merger this morning. Who knows if that's something that'll actually happen, but there's there's a little bit of M&A talk, not M&A necessarily, probably more of a paper merger than anything. But bottom line is, that sort of thing can get sectors energized real quickly. Right. If we move on now to charts of interest, we've got a percentage of outperforming U.S. Equity fund managers, and you can see there it's not looking great for the equity fund managers at the moment. So they're going to get to the point here where they either all just bullet back into the market here at the end of the year, trying to catch outperformance, or if they're expecting the markets to kind of peel back off, maybe they start to reduce exposure. But most likely, when the guys are underperforming this sort of manner, very often at the end they can come and just jam right back into it and go hard. Often, a lot of times, those are the guys that get hammered, and that's when the real corrections come. But bottom line, it's I think something real interesting to have a look at, and that can have a huge impact on how the market's going to finish this year. Right, corporate action starting in the States today, really with Yum Brands. I thought that Alcoa was kicking it off tomorrow. Obviously, Yum Brands is actually even going to be the first one to have a go. Nothing else really to report. In terms of market data, we have industrial production out of Germany again today. Germany coming out with really shocking numbers. We've got SA gross reserves as well. This came in a touch soft, and net reserves also a touch soft. We've got industrial production and manufacturing production out of the UK later, and then we've got local business confidence at 11:30. So we're kind of sticking on the same sort of themes at the moment, which I think are telling, and I actually think it's got to be a little bit nerve-wracking for the States, and I'm sure that the Fed's looking at all of the soft data that continues to come across the tape from Europe at the moment, because you've got Asia that's turned soft, or more specifically China, that's turned very, very soft, which is the second largest economy in the world. Now you've got Germany and the rest of Europe which obviously is another major economy there, and really starting to get soft in Europe as well. And that's going to probably add a little bit of concern now to what the markets are looking at going forward. It'll be interesting to see how the yield dynamics and how they start to change between the U.S. and then Europe continuing going forward. All right, let's get into some maps here. Our first thing I'll have a look at here is the Aussie. And the reason why I wanted to show this, I was looking at this chart yesterday. I'm going to pull it in further a little bit. So we talked about this, when we dropped this level, I mean, this is one of the big things that we were looking at, this wedge. We're talking about the false breakout here, which often leads to monster reversals the other way. What's interesting here is the steepness of the sell-off. I mean, even factoring in yesterday's 800-point rise, the bounce here is actually looking quite minute. So, in the grand scheme of things, so I think it's very feasible to think that we could have even a much more considerable bounce off of these levels. I'm not saying that we're going to, but what I'm saying is we haven't even retraced we haven't even retraced a third of the losses that we suffered literally in 2 weeks. So I think that the retracement may be there may be a little bit left in this, potentially, and it's going to be something, it's going to be one of the ones, when you start to get bounces off of these kind of sell-offs, the bounces can oftentimes be more vicious, or as vicious as the sell-off. So just keep that in mind. I know for me, I feel like the market has turned in the short term. It's no longer one-way traffic, but just be careful getting involved, too short looking to or getting involved too early looking to fade things. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'd personally like to see a bounce up here closer to 45,000 before really looking to start to fade things again in size. All right. The first thing let's look at. We talked earlier in the written portion. We talked about the turn and potentially in the dollar, not turn, but maybe we've put in a short-term top in the dollar. If you look at all the currency crosses, so I'll just run through some of those real quick. U.S. dollar, rand, you can see how we peaked up here at 1136, 1137. We're all the way back at 1122 this morning. You look at some of the more major crosses like the euro dollar, and you can see the reversal that we've had off the lows there as of yesterday. You can look at the US dollar yen, and you can also see same sort of thing, how we potentially peaked yesterday. So across all the FX crosses probably showed some peaks. Now let's look at some of the commodities. Look at gold yesterday. You can see there gold really taking out lows. Looking like it was dropping lows for the last year, and you can see there that it did intraday only to make a hard reversal and close above 1200. So you look at copper also making a huge reversal there yesterday. Oil would be the same, not as dramatic in oil, but you can see there we spiked down, taking out new lows more or less, only to reverse back above $90 in light sweet. So you see, I think yesterday is a big point to be kind of marked on the maps and on your date, on your calendar there. So what's going to be interesting, and I think it's what's going to be telling for us, is if there is more downside to all the commodities and the commodity shares and that sort of thing, and what's been driven through all this dollar strength, you're probably going to need to see these lows and all these commodities and all these currencies start to be taken out for us, especially things like the US dollar yen, for us to start to reach new lows, maybe in some of these currency and commodity crosses, and commodity shares. So let's have a look here. We're looking at Anglos, and you can see here just a monster reversal out of Anglos here yesterday. Actually made a key reversal on the day. So we took out the intraday. We actually made new lows of this this trend that's been running since all the way back in late July, and then we reversed to trade above the highs of Friday's session, and and close above the highs of Friday session. So it's a key reversal out of Anglos. Very important to note. The whole sector really made major reversals. If you look at Azor, same thing. Took out lows, reversed, close above the previous day's highs. So Azor also making a key reversal. Billiton's couldn't quite make it a key reversal, but a big reversal nonetheless out of Billiton's. So same sort of thing. And like I said, we really saw it across the entire sector. So I think that's important. We may potentially be marking some lows in some of these shares like Impalas, for instance. So if you look back, obviously we can look at a multi-year daily chart out of things like Impalas. You can see we're right down there at those sort of levels, kind of hanging on to the lows at around 84. All these sort of things, all of these shares potentially could be making big reversals or bottoms off of these sort of levels. So, if we ever did have a time to jump in on these things, if you're looking to catch the turn, I think now might potentially be the time. We got to look and see how it plays out. I think it's also potentially boosted by a Glencore Rio merger rumor right now that could really kind of scare out some shorts potentially with the thought of some M&A action and things like that on the day. So just keep that in mind. To me, that's kind of the one thing that we can actually focus on the day today. So I just wanted to keep it simple by looking at some of the mining stocks today. But I think we're gonna end up seeing some real opportunity play out here. And like I said, if we do want to get re-short of these things, I think that the timing and the signal to maybe play that game is going to be if we start to take out lows again on the recent lows on the things like the yen, potentially even the rand, that sort of thing. So watch all that closely. We'll be here to point it out if it does start to happen. That's it for today, guys. Good luck out there.